All right, all right, there it is. I think I'm here with everybody. Hi, I'm Finian Makepeace calling in from Los Angeles, California, also Tongva land of the indigenous people here. It's a great honor to be sharing with you all today. We just have a short time, so I'm going to jump in to my presentation. I'd like to thank the organizers of this event. I've been really inspired to see what their inspiration is causing the folks behind this. And I don't know all of you who are out there watching, but I'm sure there's so many amazing, passionate activists and advocates for regenerative agriculture and soil health that are here. And I'm so encouraged by that as someone who joined into this cause about 8 years ago, just seeing the huge opportunity and potential, and right then and there dedicating my life to trying to help spread the word. So thank you so much for being here and joining this amazing movement that's happening all over the world. So I want to start today by just sharing this slide to really grapple with where we're at and the necessity of what is before us, being regeneration, or to not sustain, but to regenerate. So there's nothing wrong with sustainability. It's that humanity has an opportunity and a call to help steward planetary regeneration. The situation is alarming, as you've probably heard multiple times already, but 75% of our land is deemed degraded, and one third of farmland has been lost to degradation in only the past 40 years. Just to give it some historical perspective, since agriculture started around 10,000 years ago, we've been degenerating our landscapes in most cultures around the world where human population started to increase. So grasping this point that we're at is critical to understand how we can all propel the necessity forward of regeneration versus trying to sustain or maintain or do a little less harm to where we actually are today. We do want to get to a point when sustainability makes sense. Our soil is sick and broken. A lot of times when we're advocating, we're sharing this message, I personally think it's crucial that people around the world grasp how broken and degraded our soil is, how slow infiltration rates are. If it's infiltrating for a half an inch in an hour on any land, that means we have massive abilities for huge flooding, major drought issues. But when we change that to a half an inch infiltrating in 2 minutes or 10 seconds, we can change entire ecosystems and how they function. Regenerative agriculture is the solution because it rebuilds soil. And that is important when we talk about rebuilding soil, because when we talk about sick and broken or just broken, we understand that something can be fixed and rebuilt. And that's the beauty of working with nature. The problem of too much CO2 in our atmosphere is actually the stuff that we need to rebuild our soil. I mean, the carbon in our atmosphere is the building blocks of what becomes soil. So when we look at our left and we see sand, silt, and clay, particles of dirt and dust, what turns that into aggregated, healthy, glued together, carbon-rich soil is the carbon that was pumped through plants, shared to microorganisms in the soil. So plants performing photosynthesis take carbon out of the atmosphere and pump 30 to 40% of their liquid sugar they create. They share it out of their roots. They exude it into the soil to feed microbes, who in exchange give them availability to nutrients that they need and minerals. But this process is feeding these microbes, these fungi, these bacteria, all these amazing organisms in the soil food web. They are creating glue substances in the soil that aggregate the soil together, creating these incredible structures that can hold 20 times their weight in water, that become these incredible sponge-like infrastructures with teeming with life, that have this 500 million years of research and development behind them. This is incredible. If we want to call it a technology, we can, but it's just incredible how this has been designed to work. So to maximize regeneration, because as you aggregate that soil, it becomes more spongy, it holds more water, holds more life. Plants can get more water available to them, more nutrients available because of all the microbes in the soil releasing it. They can grow bigger. More plants can come in. That means more photosynthesis. That means more sugar being pumped in to feed the system. This is the regenerative feedback loop that we're talking about and we're all so excited about. Plants and microorganisms working to perpetually regenerate our landscapes, and we can help. This is such a powerful quote that I encourage all of the advocates that I train around the world to think about and put into their own context. But this is Ray Archuleta. He is one of my biggest advisors, incredible human who's tirelessly working for this movement. But this quote is so telling because someone who worked with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, as NRCS in the United States, it used to be called the Soil Conservation Service, and went to school to study soil and agriculture, for him to say we didn't know how the soil worked is really important to grasp where humanity's at on the learning curve, on the understanding curve of this whole thing. And I think this is a profound opportunity for each of us who are recent to this movement, been in this movement for a long time, to grasp that there's so many people who just don't know. I mean, the top environmentalist, I always encourage people to think about, if you Google the top environmentalists of the world, more than 12 or 15 years ago, from my understanding, only one of them really understood how this worked. Vandana Shiva, of the top famous environmentalists of the whole world, one of them really grasped this. That's an opportunity for all of us to say, this is an available idea, and to remember that many indigenous cultures have held this concept, the steward place where humans are working to and for the betterment of the ecological system from around the world. We have to recognize that that's been in place in many of these indigenous cultures for so long and has been systematically wiped out in so many ways around the world. So as we discover these new possibilities from the holistic management side, from the science side of what's being discovered, we also need to all work to make sure that the indigenous wisdom and knowledge is looked at as, well, that's what was being enforced. That was being talked about in that society. That's what was being a part of that mindset. So thinking regeneratively is still emerging and can emerge vastly across the whole world, and all of us can take that opportunity. So I wanted to talk today about defragment and take action. There is a lot going on in this space, to say the least, and I want to encourage you. I don't know if you've seen it, you probably have or experienced it, but in my opinion, as someone who's been an activist for nearly my entire life, this movement feels like no other in terms of its capacity to bring people from all walks of life together and from different starting points together. So whether it's scientists or whether it's environmentalists or whether it's water stewards or water keepers or whether it's someone who's really trying to look out for the financial well-being of rural economies or for farmers, the span and the sphere of who can and should and very likely would love to be involved in this is really omnipotent. And so I encourage each of us to take that seriously and think about where we have stayed in our comfort zone of who and how we know, but saying, wait a minute, there are these people over here who are all about this. Am I judging that they're not gonna be about regeneration and regenerative agriculture? Maybe you've thought too soon. Maybe you've jumped to a conclusion that they're stuck somewhere. There's, I think, opportunity all across, because I always bring it back to myself. I didn't know, and I thought I knew a bunch of stuff. 8 years ago, I thought I was, of the 95th percentile of people who knew about what was happening with climate change and all these catastrophes we were facing. But I had no idea about this whole realm of possibility. So when I look at that for myself, it humbles me to say, well, why am I discounting someone else that might seem like they're the epitome of the worst on the other side? So I still encourage us to look for those around us who are wanting to connect. We obviously want to draw and bring in momentum for those of us who are already connected, but always leaving space and encouraging ourselves to expand, to reach folks who seem like they're not included. But getting back to this question of defragment, there doesn't need to be that. So I encourage each of us to take a role instead of the argumentative, I'm right, you're wrong stances that many of us can be encouraged to take in the online world these days, is to look where you, as someone who's a part of the soil health and regenerative agriculture movement, take a moment to reflect, how can I be constructive in creating the space for those folks to get more connected to something that they might have been missing? So I have here, it says, need a connection? Ask. This kind of sounds like an advertisement, but there are countless people who are probably at this conference here today who have connections to groups, individuals, groups from different backgrounds that you might not be aware of, that they can help you connect with. And so where is each of us, as really a lot of us are being reminded at the major discrepancies of inclusion that are happening and have been happening perpetually in our society for thousands, if not more, years. All of us this last year in 2020, we're really given a major wake-up call on that. So where are we looking to say, okay, I have a bit more to do, but I can be supported in my work to make sure people around the world are represented, make sure people are connected to this. Because the easier route, of course, is just going with who is easy and around us and is seamless to connect with. But each of us can, and I think must, take that upon ourselves to push beyond those boundaries of our comfort zone. But ask. This is where we can all support each other, because we all don't know, we all don't have the access to that. And if you reach out, people will help you and take that call. So this is a slide that really highlights the importance of awareness. A lot of movements gain momentum and then quickly start to go directly into actions and the outcome segment. Those are always important, of course. They have to happen. They're part of everything, achieving something ultimately. But why I have awareness circled is, no matter where you are, whether you're a farmer or a politician who's doing the work to make action happen or taking an action, each of us can still be a part of helping the awareness, so that we're reaching critical mass of awareness, so that all of us have an easier job, let's say, in getting this movement to be actualized. So I have that circled, is that I personally believe that each of us can play a stronger role in messaging, sharing, and perpetuating this idea outside of the circles that it already exists in, so that we can reach a critical mass for this movement. Things like Kiss the Ground, the film, the movie that we created, was an example of that at a big scale, of how do we make awareness broad enough that those who want to get in can get in, those who want to know about this or get involved can. So how are we widening that to make it really a powerful movement that is unmesswithable throughout the world? So each of you can help play a role in awareness spreading, and I'm here personally to help you achieve that or get over the roadblocks that might be in your way. This is just something I wanted to share today around what I was just talking about. So awareness building can look different in many respects, but here are some ideas around it so you can put your head around it. This is the drop a seed and steward conditions. I don't think it's helpful for any of us to act like we're proselytizing, or whatever the word is, or converting people to thinking regeneratively, because that sets up for a weird relationship that isn't based on mutual trust and good energy. And it can often, especially for early advocates, can be weird because they're not experts in the subject, but they're like, this is the answer. And they're kind of doing that type of activism, which I think can run into problems. So drop a seed and steward the conditions. Thinking of the seed metaphor of every seed to reveal itself and go into its fullest, biggest possibility of itself, it needs the conditions that are going to make that possible. Pardon the beeping behind me. So that's really a thought of how am I creating those conditions? Maybe it's a year later that those conditions are enough for that seed to happen. Maybe it's immediately, who knows? But forcing the seed to drop and to germinate all in an hour long or 10-minute conversation can be detrimental to yourself. Using videos, conversations, events like this one, farm visits is huge. Relationships, trust, and connecting. This is a relationship movement. It's so important to look at your relationships and building trust and looking in the long-term goal of all this. Actions that can come out, farmer and farmer training is huge. It's so necessary. Monitoring, outcomes-based. Regeneration is a phenomenon of getting back to a better working, functional state of our land. We can look at how we're monitoring that so it's a different outcome is happening. Financial models for farmers. The investment versus the extraction model is so crucial for farmers to have available to them. Government support based on practices and the outcomes, as well as the education that is being undergone. So huge things there. There's much more to say about that. I wanted to share what happened yesterday before our time runs out. We had an amazing run this month of preparing Gabe Brown, who is a star of Kiss the Ground, the film, to testify at the House Ag Committee. We have a brand new chairman of the House Ag Committee, Chairman Scott, who saw Kiss the Ground, the film, back in October and got really excited about it. He actually showed Kiss the Ground trailer at the House Ag Committee hearing yesterday. It was so exciting. And then Gabe Brown testified. If you want to watch that recap, you can go to YouTube and look at Mr. Brown Goes to Washington, and you'll find that 30-minute recap of Gabe's portion of that 6-hour plus hearing yesterday. So this was an opportunity to show, as we all work together, these tools that can be used and inspire everyone from kindergartners to policymakers who are going to be making some really big decisions. So I encourage everyone to use these forms and these tools to get out the word, because it can change everything, literally. So whether it's this film or it's other films or other ways of getting in the door, please remember to use tools that can reach audiences and not just have to have a peer-to-peer conversation. Another thing that's happening for us, Regenerate Earth, is a campaign we're setting up to initiate, but we're really focused, because we live in the United States, we're going to be focusing on something called Regenerate America, which is a campaign and then we're encouraging things like Regenerate India. We're not going to lead it, but we want people in India with what's happening there to lead that. Regenerate UK, of course, these are just examples, and we're hoping for countless, even cities and municipalities to take on Regenerate New York City or Regenerate London, however it goes. So that's going to be something that you'll hear more about coming from Kiss the Ground that we want you to be involved with. The Regenerate America campaign is really around 10 to 5 million signatures that are supporting Farm Bill reformation. That's our version of what dictates all of our farm stuff happening in the United States. So you'll be seeing our version of that, and then hopefully you can take templates or mimic it or make your own versions in your own countries. I want to encourage people to have farmers sign up with Regen Ag 101. This is a brand new course from stars of Kiss the Ground, the film, Gabe and Ray. This is online, easy, get to know Regen Ag for farmers. Send farmers here. Go to kisstheground.com/farmland and have them sign up. This is online. They can get the basics, the 101 of Regen Ag that really work everywhere, even if it's in England or UK, wherever you are at. Take soil advocate training if you want. This is where I teach people all around the world. We have 3,000 advocates from over 30 countries right now who are training to be advocates, making themselves more powerful out there in the world. And we give you access to so much information, speed up your process of being able to message this to the world. You can go to Kiss the Ground to find your path. This is a way you can find immediately ways that you can get involved that are more catered to you. So in closing, I want to thank everyone so much for your time. The moment we're in right now is like no other. 8 years ago, we dreamed of this place in getting closer to the tipping point, and we're nearing it. And the ripples that are happening around the world can be maximized by each of your efforts. So I'm imploring each of you to step into your full-blown capacity or skill sets or ideating that can help this movement. We need each of you to go all in, because that's what it's going to take. And we've seen what happens with the growing amount of us taking our lives and making our lives about this. And we want to help each of you to do that, because this is the future. Regeneration is the option that we have to take seriously. And I'm surprised every day at the breadth of humanity that gets this when they get it, and come from different backgrounds, from different cultures. This is humanity's direction, and it comes from elders and indigenous wisdom. It comes from scientists. It comes from farmers and ranchers. This is the people who we're supporting as advocates, who have been on the front lines of this for years. And together we can do this. Thank you so much.